WBTV News starts right now with breaking news.
That breaking news, a 3-year-old boy killed in his home after a drive-by shooting in northwest Charlotte. Video captures the sickening spree of gunfire. Nearly 150 rounds shot into the home. CMPD says the people with guns are CMS students.
It just makes no sense that you can have such disregard for human life and not hold yourselves accountable for that.
And then he said, "Grandma, I think he gone," and I didn't want to believe it.
Right now, this little boy's family and law enforcement urging those responsible to turn themselves in.
We are on your side with team coverage, helping you try to understand what happened. Right now, law enforcement says this shooting is part of a string of shootings in our community. We have a lot to get to with that story, and we know it punches you in the gut just like it does us. But first, we do have severe thunderstorm warnings tonight across the Charlotte area. A first alert going on right now. Some very heavy news on a busy afternoon. Good evening and welcome. I'm Molly Grant.
And I'm Jamie Bull. Thanks for being here tonight. We do begin with the forecast. Severe thunderstorm warnings in place this afternoon. Meteorologist Jason Myers tracking where they are right now. Jason?
And we've been tracking those storms throughout today, at times severe with large hail, even heavy rainfall, frequent lightning and gusty winds. Right now, no active warnings in our area. We do still have some storms in the area, and we expect these storms to stay around through this evening, even into tonight and into early Thursday. We had some storms earlier here on the south side of Charlotte into portions of Lancaster, Union County. That's begun to fade away a little bit more, but now we're seeing a little bit more storm activity from southern portions of Richmond County into Chesterfield County. Heavy rainfall, frequent lightning right now, and that's moving a little further away from Chesterfield, but over toward Fulton, Diggs, and over toward the Hamlet area. As we work away more towards Charlotte, quiet right now right over Charlotte and Mecklenburg County, but north of I-40, we have some heavier downpours here near Hickory, Taylorsville, and over toward Turnersburg, just to the north of the Statesville area. We'll keep talking more about your hour-by-hour forecast. We also have a new update on what is now Tropical Storm Mindy in the Gulf of Mexico. We'll have that update coming up.
Jason, see you in a few minutes. Back to the breaking news now. Charlotte Mecklenburg police believe CMS students are involved in the death of a 3-year-old boy overnight.
This is Isaiah Figueroa. He died in a drive-by shooting last night on Richard Roswell Drive in northwest Charlotte. We want to warn you, the surveillance footage of the shooting you're about to see may upset you knowing what happened seeing his precious face. But police say this video may jog someone's memory. Nearly 150 rounds of ammunition went into this home. 11 people were inside. 3-year-old Isaiah killed. His 4-year-old sister also hit. She was grazed. She is expected to survive. They were both sleeping. Now, this story probably has you feeling like we've all been feeling today, sad, angry, and just enraged. Yeah,
and we are trying to help you understand what happened and what's being done to find those responsible and also to stop the violence now in our city. Now at 5 o'clock, team coverage on CMPD's investigation, how this shooting could be linked to other violent crimes in Charlotte. But we begin with WBTV's Courtney Cole. And Courtney, you spoke to neighbors who know Isaiah's family. What are they telling you?
But Jamie, they tell me he was the sweetest little boy, like any other toddler. He loved to play. He loved snacks. He would spend time with his neighbors on their porch, sitting and eating. He just wanted to have a good time. Many of the neighbors here say the shots jolted them awake, and they're on edge today. But they're praying for healing and for justice for this family.
It's extremely stressful. The impact has been great.
A lot of us are considering almost like a PTSD after COVID, right? We are in the trenches every day. I think once we get out of it, we are gonna step back and see how it took a toll on our bodies and our minds.
You're up.
Taking the strain of COVID in itself on healthcare has been pretty tremendous. A lot of people are tired.
Within claustrophobic halls, beneath the constant hum of fluorescent lights, a familiar scene plays out.
So we have 75-year-old female presented from Rowan. She had COVID in early January.
For nearly 2 long years, a critical care team at Presbyterian Medical Center has been on the front line of a crippling crisis.
She is on the ventilator. She's on the fentanyl infusion at 150.
Among the faces is Jason Cook. He serves as the director of critical care.
Still people have shortness of breath and difficulties breathing. How are you guys doing? All right?
Good. How are you doing?
It's a demanding position. He oversees hundreds of team members, caring for the most critically ill patients in the intensive care units.
This whole entire unit was COVID, and every last one of the patients in here were ventilated as well, and so we had to look at how we obtain more ventilators as well as the equipment necessary to treat the patient population.
He's rarely in the same spot for very long. He doesn't have that luxury.
We're going to go to medical ICU. So we're going to go to our neuro ICU. Where are we headed now? We're going to the ER.
We followed Jason while he made his rounds.
So tomorrow,
catching up with team members.
Hey, Sasha.
Understanding the next steps for the patients in their care.
And we have, I think, one potential discharge. We just have to make sure that physical therapy walks with them and assesses them, make sure they're safe to go home.
Once we get out of it, we are gonna step back and see how it took a toll on our bodies and our minds.
On this day, one of Jason's nurses came to him with unexpected news.
And I just wanted to talk to them. I've already talked to Rich, but I'm leaving.
What?
Yeah.
Brian. Seriously?
Well, not
where are you going?
For all reasons. I don't want to leave, but it's just hard. Like,
it's a tough job.
Yeah.
It is. Initially, there was a little shock there because he wasn't one that I felt like I was going to lose. Honestly, at this point, I'm kind of numb to it a little bit because we've had so many people transition out.
Something looms beyond these walls.
I need a little more space, so I'm going to wind it forward.
Sue Helmkin.
I had somebody come in one time when I was weaving, and they thought I had a machine running. It was like, wow, I got a good rhythm going. Oh, yeah. I've found it. I guess nowadays they call it a fiber artist. I prefer, those are my primary interests. But I've done some basketry. I'm learning to spin. I like to sew. I crochet very well, and I'm trying to knit. So if it makes lint, I dabble with it.
Making an old tradition, a family affair.
Well, all of us sew. All my sisters and my mother and I all sew. And we've dabbled in a lot of different craft things. So that has the cloth is what really draws me to it.
For a few hours a day.
Loosen that up here.
In the shop, outside her house.
Okay.
Sue is the orchestrator.
About to run out of thread here, so I have to change colors anyway.
It was my junior year of high school.
Until last Thursday, Rashika Chamlagai had only told a couple friends about an incident in which she was sexually assaulted by a male friend at Hawthorne Academy High School in 2019.
He was kind of like touching me and stuff, and I started walking a little faster because I felt really uncomfortable. And when I turned around, like half of his pants were down.
Chamlagai says she reported the incident to the school's principal, Diane Weston, almost immediately.
I was very close with the principal. I looked up at her like she's my mentor. So she was making her coffee, and I go up to her, I'm like, "You're not gonna believe this." And I began to tell her what happened. As soon as I told her, she was like, "Okay, Title IX, Title IX."
The immediate attention from Weston and other administrators soon led to Chamlagai spending most of the day in the office. Until hours later, she says, her complaint was dismissed.
They later came by and told me we didn't find anything in the camera. And I was shocked because I know the camera can get from the front of the school all the way up to the main sign where it is. I know that because I have seen it in the security room before.
But it's what happened next that still troubles Chamlagai.
I was sitting in the vice principal's room, like facing a wall. She was like, "Don't text your friends, don't text your family, no one should know what happened." And I'm like feeling already overwhelmed because I didn't expect them to tell me what they told me. I thought some actions were going to take place, but later, 2 or 3 hours later, they presented an NDA. Only thing I remember is that there were 10 things on there. One main one being that I would not be able to speak about it till the male student graduated and I graduated from Hawthorne.
Chamlagai says she wasn't given a copy of the document. WBTV submitted a records request for the form last week, but Weston, the principal, has yet to even acknowledge the request. But if it sounds familiar, it could be because the Hawthorne Academy student we talked with last week was asked to sign something similar. The document she was asked to sign is called a no-contact retaliation agreement. It actually bars students from discussing their reported sexual assault with, quote, others regarding the situation or student.
I signed the NDA because I was overwhelmed and I felt pressured because I didn't know what was going to happen if I didn't.
Did you feel like you would be punished or face consequences if you didn't sign the agreement?
Yes, sir. I thought if I didn't sign it, maybe something permanent could go on my record or something that could affect me getting accepted into a good college and stuff like that.
Did you want to report this to anyone else? Did you want to file a report with the police?
I didn't know I could. When I signed the NDA, I was already scared because I'm not very educated on how law works and stuff like that. But when I did ask the principal or I talked with my mom and stuff like that, they were just like, it's a non-disclosure form.
So you believed that you couldn't report this to police because you signed this agreement that you thought prevented you from talking about it?
Yes, sir.
We start tonight with the breaking news. 2 administrators at Hawthorne Academy High School in Charlotte just suspended. WBTV confirmed these details in just the last 15 minutes.
This, Jamie, comes right after a WBTV investigation detailing what happened after female students reported being sexually assaulted at the school. Thank you for joining us here at 5 o'clock. I'm Molly Grantham.
And I'm Jamie Bull. More on this now. We first told you last week about this student who reported being sexually assaulted earlier this school year and was suspended. Then last night, we told you about a second student who reported being sexually assaulted, and she says was made to sign an agreement that she wouldn't tell anyone about it. So tonight, WBTV's chief investigative reporter, Nick Oxner, continuing to push for answers in this time from CMS Superintendent Ernest Winston. Nick joins us live at the Government Center. Nick, more on Winston coming up, but let's begin with that breaking news you've just received regarding both the principal and the assistant principal at Hawthorne Academy.
Yeah, Jamie, I've learned that just within the past hour, students and parents at Hawthorne Academy High School were told that Principal Diane Weston and Assistant Principal Nina Adams have been suspended with pay. There are not a lot of other details that we know of at this time, and in fact, a spokesman for Ernest Winston wouldn't even confirm to me that that message had been sent to students and parents like the district normally does. But turning now to Winston, I've been trying to talk with Ernest Winston and specifically have been asking for an interview with him for more than 2 weeks now regarding our reporting and the sexual assaults at Hawthorne Academy High School, and in fact haven't gotten anything back from him, his spokesman, until about 10 minutes ago, and he wouldn't confirm the news on the administrators, hasn't even been responding to my emails. But despite that, we still have questions, including how a current Hawthorne Academy student could be suspended late last month after reporting being sexually assaulted, and whether administrators at the school are forcing students to sign non-disclosure agreements, preventing them from talking about reported sexual assaults. We've also submitted records requests to Winston and school principal Weston that haven't been fulfilled. Despite that, Winston still refused to answer my questions when I found him a little more than an hour ago here at the Government Center before a school board meeting.
Superintendent Winston. Superintendent Nick Oxner at WBTV. I'm hoping you can answer our questions because you've been unwilling to answer our questions at all.
I will entertain
Sir?
a motion for the board to go into.
Why won't you answer our questions?
This is a student matter, and unfortunately, I'm not able to discuss student matters, disciplinary matters.
As a policy, you don't think it's appropriate for students to be suspended or to sign non-disclosure agreements?
Ms. Oxner, I've already given you my response.
17-year-old Corey Champion Jr. was experiencing a mental health emergency. He spent 3 weeks in the ER waiting on an inpatient bed to open somewhere so he could get treatment.
People see the homeless people, and what they don't realize is those homeless people were once kids like my child. And the families have exhausted their resources, the kids haven't gotten the help, and they end up, on the streets. And that's just no place for them to be.
So former Carolina Panther Steve Smith is trying to be a part of the solution. He is part of a group starting a behavior and health urgent care center here in Charlotte, commonly referred to as a BHUC. It'll be the first one here. Right now, it's an empty lot on Colonnade Drive, but the goal is to have it open by early next year. Here was part of Molly Grantham's report on this at 6.
Anybody can stroke a check, but what is something that you cannot give and take away is time. And this has required a lot of time.
But let's not skate over that check writing part. What is the cost to this BHUC? $3.6 million. Mecklenburg County is giving $2 million, and Alliance Health will give a yet-to-be-said amount. The Steve Smith Family Foundation will give the rest. And that's just to build the vision on this currently messy lot. Once complete, looking more like this, it'll take a rough operating budget of $1.6 million to run every year with at least 19 staff members, including licensed therapists, crisis workers, medical assistants, and psychiatrists.
It takes a village or a community to raise how many children? Just one. So if we have enough people doing it, then it actually, instead of it being a TikTok or a phase or an ice bucket challenge, is actually something that's tangible, that's actually meaningful.
Oh goodness, I'm sure a lot of people can relate, because when you go to the hospital, you're slapped with that medical bill, you get the sticker shock, you hope your insurance is going to come through. They do, and then you're still being held accountable for this?
Yeah, it's certainly something.
All right, here's David's first investigation.
Mayhew was insured with both Blue Cross Blue Shield and Medicare, but said he never received a bill from Atrium until just recently.
I got a bill from them for roughly $8,000 saying they were going to send me to collection. I called Atrium, I spoke to them. They said insurance hadn't paid it. So I called my insurance companies and spoke to both of them about why it wasn't paid, and they said Atrium didn't send them the paperwork.
Mayhew even got the bill paid by his insurance, so he was shocked when he received this letter from Atrium.
I got the letter that said, you owe us nothing. If your money is garnished, please call this number. Thank you very much. And a couple of days later, I got a letter from the state of South Carolina saying, we sent all your money to Atrium Health.
Mayhew had more than $600 of a state tax return garnished by Atrium Health for a bill he already paid.
Does it seem to make any sense why they couldn't intervene if they knew that this was already in the process?
You would think so. You would think so. But obviously not. It's not a tremendous amount of money, but I would like to have it back.
And you can't get a hold of anyone to fix the problem?
In a little while, it gets fuzzier.
Atrium's letter to Mayhew gave him 2 numbers to call to fix the problem.
Press 2.
But he says he calls twice a week and can't get anyone on the line. In North Carolina, this practice isn't allowed. Only taxes, student loans, child support, and ambulance fees can be garnished. But in South Carolina, it is common practice and only requires a letter, not even a lawsuit. A report from Modern Healthcare found that $84.6 million was garnished by hospitals in 2017 alone. And WBTV has received paperwork from other South Carolina residents who had their tax refunds garnished by Atrium for bills they got in North Carolina. WBTV reached out to Atrium Health to ask several questions, including why Atrium couldn't stop the process and when Mayhew will receive his money back. We never received a response. Despite their promises in this letter, Mayhew is simply waiting for the money to hit his bank account before he believes in their system.
It was very frustrating. Dealing with people that every time you call, you get a different human being. From my appearances, it looks to me like it's the biggest bureaucratic mess I've ever seen. I had seen some of the work you guys have done in the past, and I figured maybe this is a chance to get something done and move them along. And I have yet to hear from them.
So when I was watching this, my first thought was I didn't know this was possible. I didn't know that a hospital or a healthcare system could garnish my wages or my tax refund to pay for something like this, but the rules are different in North and South Carolina.
Yeah, it's a pretty unique situation. South Carolina has this set-off debt law that was created, and it really originally seems to be created for government entities to actually garnish some taxes. So if you have an unpaid water bill or something along those lines, your trash bill, something along like that. But it turns out that hospital authorities like Atrium can also access this. And what's really unique in this situation is that he went to a hospital in North Carolina, but still could get his income refund garnished in South Carolina. So it's kind of an interesting use of the rules. schools.
And I'm glad we have you on the News Now desk today because you have a bit of an update with this story.
Yes, we just found out from him earlier this week that he got his money back. Atrium sent him a check, even though the hospital authority never told us about it. They were happy to communicate with him and sent him a check for the money they took from his taxes.